Hello, hello everyone. I hope that you all are having a great time and you're ready to learn something new. I am Sourav Verma, your biology educator, and I welcome you all on this brand new YouTube channel of Unacademy for the students of ISC and ICSC board. And let me introduce myself. My name is Sourav Verma. I'll be your biology educator for class 11th and 12th, and currently I'm pursuing MBBS. Okay, and let me give you an idea of the plus subscription for the Unacademy. So Unacademy's plus subscription gives you a lot of advantages. Advantages like courses, new courses, they are introduced on a weekly basis by great teachers, so you can pick up any course that you like. For example, I'm also introducing a crash course for biology, and also other teachers, they have started the crash course for other subjects for your revision for the ISC board examinations. So yes, if you want to see the classes of the crash course and if you want to join the crash course, they are starting from January 3rd and 4th, right? So class 11th and 12th biology crash courses, they are starting from January 3rd and 4th. So yes, if you want to join the crash courses and take advantage of other features like raise a hand feature, you can raise hand during the live class, and you have other advantages like doubt solving. Your doubts will be solved by top educators 24/7, so you can ask your doubt anytime and it will be solved by the educators, right? So many more advantages will be served to you in the plus subscription, and now you can get plus subscription for 10% off if you use my referral code. Let me share my referral code with you, and the referral code is SOURAVBLIV, Sourav B Live. So this is the code that you can use to get a flat 10% discount whenever you buy your plus courses on Unacademy. Okay, and today we are going to talk about photosynthesis. So we are continuing with our discussion of photosynthesis chapter. We had started with the initial discussion. We had talked about the equation of photosynthesis, the features of photosynthesis, what were the discoveries made by different scientists related to the photosynthesis, and I gave you a basic idea of where photosynthesis occurs, right? So we are going to develop on those basic topics that we have read, and today we are going to discuss these major topics. We will talk about chloroplast. This chloroplast is the special organelle found in the plant cells in which the whole mechanism of photosynthesis actually takes place. So we'll talk about the structure of chloroplast and what are the different structures and what are their different functions which contribute to the overall phenomenon of photosynthesis. So we will talk about chloroplast. Then we will talk about the pigments. Yes, pigments are those chemical substances which enable the plant to capture the sunlight energy. So we'll talk about the different type of pigments, where these pigments are present, what is the actual function of these pigments, how these pigments work, right? And what is the chemical nature of these pigments. So we will talk about all these things related to the pigments involved in capturing the sunlight energy. And after that, we will start with the discussion of light reaction. So let me give you an idea that the whole phenomenon of photosynthesis, it consists of two parts. The first part is known as the light reaction, and the second part is known as the dark reaction, right? So these are the nicknames given to these reaction. Why? Because the light reaction, it is directly dependent on the sunlight. It is the process that captures sunlight and stores that energy in the form of some intermediate chemicals, some intermediate substances, and then these substances, they help in the fixation, or we can say reduction, of carbon dioxide to form the glucose, and that fixation of carbon dioxide is known as the dark reaction, or we also call it the biosynthetic pathway, right? So this is something we will talk about in the next lectures, but today the main focus is going to be on these topics. We'll talk about chloroplast, the pigments, and we'll talk about light reactions. Light reaction. There are four different things, or we can say four different processes occurring in the light reaction. So these four things which are occurring in the light reaction are, first thing is light absorption. So we'll talk about how the sunlight is absorbed. So we'll talk about light absorption. In this we'll talk about different photosystems. What is light harvesting complex? What do you mean by P700, P680? So yes, all these terms will be discussed in light absorption. We'll talk about why the pigments they appear green, right? So we'll talk about a little physics related to that, or we can say general science related to the pigments. The second step is going to be water, we can say H2O splitting. We know that water is the raw material for photosynthesis along with carbon dioxide, and water leads to the formation of oxygen. So we'll see how water is split in the process of photosynthesis and how splitting of water leads to the release of oxygen. So yes, the third step is going to be O2 release, right? And the fourth thing which we'll talk about in the light reaction is formation of energy intermediates. So how these energy intermediates are actually formed. So these are all the things that we'll be discussing in the light reaction. So yes, let us get started with the discussion. And before starting, I recommend you to join the Telegram group of Unacademy ISC and ICSC board, and the link is going to be down in the description, right? So I motivate you, I encourage you to join the group with the link given in the description to get all the updates, to get all the links, to get all the classes on the group, so you don't miss any important class. So for all the updates, go join the Telegram channel. And also, if you like watching these videos on this new channel, if you're a student of ISC board and if these videos are helping, so please consider subscribing the channel. The target at the moment is of 100 subscribers. We want to connect 1000. We want to connect 1000 learners with us so that we can bring this revolution to more and more students. And yes, if you want more connected, more organized studies, then you can check out the Unacademy app, where the special classes which are free of cost classes are happening, and you can join those special classes using my code which is Sourav B Live. So this is the code that you can use to attend the special classes which are absolutely free. And yes, if you want even better extra edge over all the other students, you can always consider the plus subscription, and you can use this code to get a flat 10% discount, right? So let's move on and start with today's discussion related to photosynthesis. Now we had discussed in the last class that photosynthesis, it occurs in chloroplast. So let us talk about this organelle of chloroplast. Let us understand about the background of chloroplast. So see, in the chapter of cell, we had discussed that there is an organelle known as plastid, right? And plastids, they are only present in the plant cells. They are absent in animal cells. And plastids, they were of three types. We had the chloroplast, So first was the chloroplast, second one was the chromoplast, and the third one was leucoplast, right? So why have I used these different colors? Because this is representing the colors of these particular plastids. See, the chloroplast, it appears green because it has an abundant amount of chlorophyll pigments. Chromoplast, it appears yellowish to orangish to reddish in color. Why? Because it has particular pigments known as the carotenoid pigments. And leucoplast, it appears colorless because it does not contain any pigments. The main job of leucoplast is to store certain substances. So it can store carbohydrates, it can store proteins, we can say starch, right? It stores starch, it can store proteins, it can store oils, we can say fats, right? It can store fat. So its main job is to store substances. But out of these, the chloroplast's main job is to conduct photosynthesis and capture sunlight for photosynthesis. And the function of chromoplast was to give color to all the flowers and structures of the plant like fruits, so that the insects, they get attracted and they help in pollination as well as seed dispersal, right? So we have to talk about the chloroplasts here. So yes, let us discuss the structure of chloroplast, how it looks like. So see, chloroplast is a typical oval or lens-shaped organelle found only in the plant cells, and it is a double membrane bound organelle. Let me try to draw the other membrane of chloroplast, right? So this is a double membrane bound organelle. So it has two membranes, the inner membrane and the outer membrane, and between them is this intermembrane space, and the space enclosed by the inner membrane is known as stroma, right? So this space which is enclosed by the inner membrane is known as stroma, and this stroma, it includes a lot of things. First is the DNA of chloroplast. Yes, it is a special type of organelle which has its own DNA. It also has its own ribosomes, which are 70S type, right? So it has its own DNA, it has its own ribosomes, it has its own RNAs. So basically, it has its complete protein synthesizing machinery, and that is why it is known as a semi-autonomous organelle. This is a feature of chloroplast or the plastids in general that you should know, that they are semi-autonomous organelles. There is one other organelle which is semi-autonomous along with chloroplast, and that is the mitochondria. Mitochondria too has the DNA, the ribosomes and the RNA. So yes, they are also semi-autonomous, which means they can perform half of their functions independently. They do not require the other cellular mechanism to help them, right? So this is the meaning of being semi-autonomous. Okay, let's move on and let's see what exists inside the chloroplast. So inside the chloroplast, we have certain structures which look something like this. So we have all these disc-like structures which are arranged in these stacks, as you can see here. So they are arranged in these stacks and they are interconnected, as you can see, with the help of these long flat tube-like structures. So let me draw this. Right, so this is how they exist, and yes, they exist everywhere in the stroma of these cells. Alright, and they are interconnected in this way. And yes, the plastids, they also contain their own DNA, its own ribosomes, right? Tiny little ribosomes everywhere, and its own RNA as well. So none of that is useful at the moment. The thing that we should consider here are these disc-like flat structures. These flat disc-like structures, they are known as thylakoid lamellae. Thylakoid lamellae. So lamellae is basically a type of shape. When you put these disc-like structures one upon another, they make this shape which is known as lamellae, and this is known as thylakoid lamellae. It appears like a flat sac. It is like a flat sac, membranous flat sac, and this flat tube-like structure which connects them, they are stromal lamellae, right? So this is the stromal lamellae. Stromal lamellae, right? So these are flat tube-like structures. Flat tube-like structures. So these are the two membranous structures which help in the light reaction, right? So these two structures, these are the membranous structures of chloroplast. Membranous structures of chloroplast, and these two, they help in the light reaction, right? Yes, in the light reaction. The other name of light reaction is photochemical reaction. Photochemical reaction, right? So that is how it occurs. And this part, the stroma, which is the fluid part, right? Stroma, which is the fluid part of the cell, it contains certain enzymes which help in the dark reaction. So it helps in the dark reaction, which is also known as biosynthetic pathway. Biosynthetic pathway. So this is how photosynthesis occurs. So the first part is the light reaction, and the second part is the dark reaction. So let us understand how this actually happens in the chloroplast. So let me make a chloroplast here. Okay, this does not look like a chloroplast. Do we have a hole? Yes, we do. So let's just say this is a chloroplast, and I'm not drawing the second membrane. It is understood that it is a double membrane bound structure. Now inside this, we have two mechanisms happening. First mechanism is actually happening in these thylakoid lamellae, right? So I'm drawing them like this, right? That is how they look like. The reaction which is happening in them is the light reaction. Light reaction. And in this light reaction, the first raw material of photosynthesis, which is water, it comes in, and a product of photosynthesis, which is oxygen, is released, right? So water comes in and oxygen is released, and also the energy from the sun, the light energy from the sun, it falls on these membranes, and this energy is used to make two high energy intermediates, right? So first of all, it intakes NADP and ADP plus inorganic phosphate. So it intakes these, and using the energy of sunlight and also the electrons that come from water. So this water is, it actually gives electron and proton. So these protons and electrons that come from water, they are used, and this energy is used to make NADPH. NADPH along with an H plus, and also this forms an ATP. And these two are the high energy intermediates that uses this light energy and it transfer it to the second step of photosynthesis. So these two are the high energy intermediates. These are the high energy intermediates. Okay, so these two high energy intermediates, they move to the second part of the process, and the second part of the process is the dark reaction, and the dark reaction is actually a cyclic pathway, right? And that cyclic pathway, it takes in CO2, which is another reactant of, or the raw material of photosynthesis. It intakes CO2, it runs it along a cycle, and out of that cycle it gives glucose, which is the product of photosynthesis, right? So CO2 is taken in and glucose moves out, and this cycle that runs here in the dark reaction is known as the Kelvin cycle, right? So this is something we will talk about in the dark reaction. So Kelvin cycle runs here, and this Kelvin cycle, it comes under the dark reaction, and this dark reaction is occurring in the stroma, and this light reaction, it occurs in the membranous parts, which are the thylakoid lamellae and the stromal lamellae. And this is how the whole photosynthesis occurs, and it can be divided into two parts, right? So we can divide it into these two parts, which are connected by these high energy intermediates. This part right here is the light reaction, and this part right here is the dark reaction. Okay, let's move on, and now we will talk about the light reaction, and first we'll talk about the pigments which are found in the chloroplast and where they are found. Let us see first where they are actually found. So again, let me give the heading of pigments. Now in the pigments, where first we have to understand where these pigments are present. So you see, this is the chloroplast, and inside that we have these thylakoid lamellae. And one thing I forgot to mention, that the group, the whole stack of all these thylakoid lamellae, it is known as granum, right? This whole stack is known as granum, and all these multiple stacks, the plural of granum is known as grana. All right. Now, so I was saying that if we zoom in on the thylakoid membrane, right? So if we zoom in on the thylakoid membrane, right? Let us take this thylakoid granum, and if we zoom in on the particular membrane, in the membrane, then we will see the membrane is made up of phospholipids like all the other membranes. So yes, the membrane is made up of phospholipid bilayer. As you can see, this is the polar head, and these two are the non-polar fatty acid chains. But in between this membrane, we have these complexes, these systems, which we call the photosystems, right? So this is a photosystem, and this photosystem, is actually made up of pigments and proteins. Pigments and proteins. So yes, this is the place where the pigments are present. So when you are asked that where these pigments are found, you will say that they are present in the membrane of thylakoid, not in the lumen of thylakoid. What is the lumen of thylakoid? This space inside thylakoid, this whole space, this is the lumen, right? But these pigments, they are not found in the thylakoid membranes, in the thylakoids. They are found in the thylakoid membranes, right? So I hope this tiny detail is clear to you. Now, let us understand what can be the different types of pigments. And yes, we'll discuss about the photosystem after discussing pigments. So the pigments, they can be of different types, right? So let us see what are the types of pigments. So pigments, they can be two major types, in fact three, but yeah, the third one is not in plants. I will mention what is the third one, but let's see the pigments which are found in plants. So one of them is the chlorophylls, chlorophyll pigments, and other ones are carotenoid pigments. Carotenoid pigments, carotenoids, right? So these are the two major pigments found in the thylakoid membrane of plants. Now, the chlorophyll which are found can be of different types. So it can be chlorophyll A, it can be chlorophyll B, and these two are the major ones. But we can also have CHL, which means chlorophylls C, D, E as well, right? So these are the varieties of chlorophyll which are found. But the two major ones are chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. And chlorophyll A is known as the chief photosynthetic pigment. So let me add here. This is the chief, or we can say primary. It is the primary photosynthetic pigment. Photosynthetic pigment. This pigment is found in all the photosynthesizing plants, in all of them, right? So this is the primary photosynthetic pigment. And if we look at the carotenoids, we can have two major types, which are first carotenes and the other one is xanthophylls, right? The xanthophylls. So these are the major pigments that you will know about in the chapter. Now, let us discuss the colors of these proteins. So chlorophyll A, it is bluish green in color. It is bluish green in color. On the other hand, chlorophyll B, it is yellowish green in color. Right? It is yellowish green in color. And that is why mostly these two are present, and that is why they give a greenish color to the leaves. Now talking about the carotenes, these are orange in color, right? As you have seen, beta carotene is found in carrots, and that is why they are these bright orange in color. On the other hand, xanthophylls, they are yellow in color, right? So this is the color, and all these four pigments that we'll be talking about, all of them are hydrophobic, right? So let me add that this let me add it on the next slide, that chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, and all the carotenoids, right, they are lipid soluble or fat soluble, right, and water insoluble. They are not soluble in water, they are water insoluble, right? We have a pigment which is soluble in water, and that pigment is anthocyanin. Anthocyanin is this dark violet colored pigment, As you have seen that some of the leaves, first they are green. Let me give an idea first. So some leaves, first the leaves are green in color, but after some time they turn orangish in color. Mostly happens during autumn, and after some time they can turn, let me choose a color. So they can turn like this, if you can see, right? And this color is due to a pigment known as anthocyanin. So they have a pigment known as anthocyanin, and this particular pigment, this is water soluble, right? So a question can be asked that which out of these pigments is water soluble, and the correct answer is going to be anthocyanin. So I hope this is clear, right? Now let us discuss the structure of the pigment, and we only need to know about the structure of chlorophyll A, right? So chlorophyll A, first of all, the molecular formula of chlorophyll A is C55H72O5N4 and Mg, right? So this is the molecular formula of chlorophyll, and the very basic cartoon of the structure, it looks something like this. So it has this head and it has this tail, right? This is how chlorophyll molecule actually is. And let me name the two parts. This head is known as the porphyrin head, and this is the porphyrin head, and this tail is a phytol tail, right? This is a phytol tail, right? So this is how chlorophyll molecule is made up of. And just in order to give you an idea, it is made up of something like this. So magnesium molecule is in the center, a magnesium atom, not molecule, an atom, and it is surrounded by 4 chains, and these chains, they look something like this, and these chains, they contain nitrogen. It appears something like this, right? And these are also connected by one another, right? I'm just giving you a basic idea. This is not 100% accurate structure, and to one of the chain is connected the tail, right? So this is the porphyrin head and this is the tail, and magnesium is in the middle. Now another key thing is that if we remove this magnesium, if this magnesium, it is removed, if we subtract magnesium and in the place we add 2 hydrogen atoms, in that case the chlorophyll A will convert into pheophytin, right? Pheophytin, and this particular molecule is significant, and we'll talk about this, the significance of pheophytin, in just a bit, right? So this is the structure of chlorophyll A. And in case of chlorophyll B, what happens is that at a certain location a CH3 group is present in chlorophyll A, right? So this is found in chlorophyll A, but in its place, right? Keep going and going well, sir. Thank you, Shikhar. All right, so this molecule, it gets removed, and in place we have a CHO group, which is known as aldehyde group, right? So this CH3, it is present in case of chlorophyll A, and this CHO, it is found in place of chlorophyll B. And now you can actually give the whole molecular formula of chlorophyll B if you know the formula of chlorophyll A. Now if we think very logically about this, then chlorophyll B's molecular formula will look something like this. See, carbons are the same, right? So it will be C55, but as you can see, 3 hydrogens are removed and only 1 are added. So instead of 72, we'll have 70 hydrogen, right? So hydrogen is going to be 70. One extra oxygen is introduced, so oxygen is going to be O6. Nitrogen does not change, N4 and Mg. So this is the molecular formula of chlorophyll B. So yes, it can ask you molecular formula. It won't ask you molecular formula of any other pigment. So you should know for chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. And this is the whole idea of the molecular structure and how they are converted and the molecular formula as well, right? So let us move on. And now we will talk about accessory pigments and what is the primary pigment or reaction center, right? So we have one reaction center, but before that I think we should discuss about the photosystems, right? And in the photosystems we will start with the discussion of what is a reaction center and what are the accessory pigments. Mainly, let me give you an idea that all these other pigments, can you please tell about light reaction? All right, I'm going to the light reaction. Let us discuss light reaction, and in that we will talk about the accessory pigments. All right, so let us get started with the discussion of light reaction. Light reaction, also known as photochemical reaction. Why? Let me tell you. So in the photochemical reaction, actually the energy from light, which is photo, is getting converted into chemical energy. So the main idea of the whole light reaction is that we are converting light energy into high energy intermediates. Energy intermediates. This is what is happening, right? Now these intermediates are not stable, otherwise the whole photosynthesis would be a light reaction, because complete photosynthesis is nothing but conversion of light energy into chemical energy. But the chemicals which are formed in the light reaction, they are not stable. They have to be converted into something stable, right? So this is just one part of the whole journey. This is the first part, right? Now let us see how this actually happens. The whole light reaction, it is actually divided in 4 parts. The first part is light absorption. Light absorption, right? The second part is water splitting, where we take water, which is a raw material for photosynthesis, and we break it down. And due to breakdown of water, we get 3 things. And out of those 3 things is oxygen as well, which is a product of photosynthesis, right? So oxygen release occurs during this light reaction. And finally, the 4th step is going to be formation of energy intermediates, right? These energy intermediates, right? So formation of energy intermediates. So let us talk about all these 4 steps one by one. So first, let's talk about light absorption. See, the absorption of light is done by the pigments, but it is not like one pigment is capturing energy and it is making the molecules. No, something very organized occurs in the photosystems, right? So what are the photosystems? So let us talk about all these things one by one. So you see, in the thylakoid membrane, let me draw thylakoid membrane. These are the 2 lipid bilayers, right? They look something like this. So in the thylakoid membrane, we have these photosystems, and these photosystems are made up of 2 things, right? One are the proteins and second are the pigments. Now these photosystems, we also use PS to represent photosystems. They can be of 2 types, right? So let us discuss about the photosystems. And these photosystems, they can be of 2 types, right? So first is PS1, which means photosystem 1, and the second one is PS2, photosystem 2. Now let me tell you that 1 and 2 are given in the order of their discovery, right? It is very important to mention because in order of working, PS2 comes first, right? So the number 1 and 2 numbers are given in order of discovery. So first PS1 was observed, or basically uh, discovered, right? So it is in the order of discovery and not in order of functioning, first thing which is important. When it comes to functioning, PS1 comes first. All right, we'll talk about that. Now in this photosystems we have the whole, we have two parts basically, right? So first is the LHC1 because it is PS1. LHC stands for light harvesting complex. So let me write it here, that LHC equals light harvesting complex. Now when you listen to a word called complex, which means it is made up of a lot of different things, right? And this complex is actually made up of proteins and all the accessory pigments, right? Accessory pigments, which are also known as antenna molecules, right? So it is also made up of antenna molecules. So it is made up of these two things, right? Antenna molecules. And these proteins, they are also known as LHP, as you can see, light harvesting proteins. All right. So light harvesting complex is made up of these two things. And we have LHC1. And in this case, we will have LHC2. But along with these light harvesting complexes, we also have certain pigment which forms the reaction center. So we have reaction center. It is the center where actual absorption of light is happening and something else is also happening, which we'll talk about, right? So we have a reaction center here and we have a reaction center here. Now what is the difference between these two reaction centers? See, the reaction center of photosystem 1, it contains a couple of chlorophyll A molecule. They look something like this. So a couple of chlorophyll A molecule which are known as P700. What does this P700 means? It means that these molecules, they can absorb a light of wavelength 700, which is max. So they cannot absorb light more than 700 nanometer, right? So 700 means that pigments cannot absorb light beyond 700 nanometer of wavelength. See, light has wavelengths and frequency. So yes, any light which has a wavelength of more than 700 would not be absorbed, right, of wavelength. So this is the first thing. And similarly, in case of the photosystem 2, the reaction center is again a couple of chlorophyll A molecules and they are known as P680. Same thing, that they cannot absorb light more than 700 nanometer, right? So this is the basic idea of the photosystems. We have two different photosystems, photosystem first and photosystem second. And these two, they can either be activated at the same times and they work together, or one of them, it turns off and only one works, right? So two scenarios are created in the basically plant. But first let's talk about the arrangement of these two photosystems. So let us draw first photosystem. So I'm drawing photosystem 1 here actually. Why am I doing it? Because as I've already told you, what is happening in the software. Okay, As I've already told you that when it comes to functioning, photosystem 1 comes after. What is happening? Is it alright? It is not detecting the touch properly. What? Okay, there is a technical error. Let me see what is happening. It is not. Let me choose another slide and let's see if the. Alright, there was some problem with the slide. Now it's fine. Okay. Now let us continue with the discussion. So we were talking about the photosystems. So let us see. Let us say that this is the photosystem 1 because it is first discovered, but it comes after. And here we'll see the photosystem 2nd, right? Now in both these photosystems we have a central region. So let me draw a central region which is actually surrounded by this surrounding region, right? So it occurs in both of them, right? So we have these central regions, and in these central regions we contain the reaction centers. So there we have the reaction center here and the reaction center here. All right, now around this, in the surrounding region, we have all the accessory molecules, all the accessory pigments, which are also known as antenna molecules, right? So we have all these accessory pigments. There are a lot of them. So if I give you an idea, a single photosystem can contain 200 to 300 molecules of pigment, right? To 200 to 300 pigments, they are under a single photosystem, and this particular photosystem is PS2 and this is PS1, right? Now in this PS2, what happens is that sunlight comes and falls on these pigments. Now this is something critical. I want you to understand it. See, let me explain it here, that this is a pigment, right? And sunlight comes on this pigment. Now this pigment gets excited. The electron inside this pigment, it gets excited, and when an electron gets excited, when it absorbs energy, it has to come down. But when it comes down, it can come down in steps. Let us zoom in on this pigment and let's go in the atomic level, right? If we go in the atomic level, this is the proton, the nucleus, and these are the orbitals. So when an electron, it gets excited, let's say this is the electron, when it gets excited by light energy, it moves up, right? And it can move up in this excited energy region, right? Because it has absorbed energy. But now it has to give out the energy to become stable again and go down in the more stable region. And in order to do that, it can do two things. It can either move directly or it can move in steps. First it can come here and then it can go down, right? If it comes directly, it will release the same amount of energy which is absorbed. It absorbed. But if it comes in steps, it will release some energy here and some energy here. So what happens is that if we take, for example, this energy was 10, right? And if it drops down in steps, let's just say this energy which is released, it is 4, and this energy which is released, it is in 6. So now it releases energy in parts. And why it is significant? Because this reaction center can only accept certain wavelengths, certain energy, and it cannot accept very high energy. In fact, in presence of very high energy radiation, it can actually get degraded. And the degradation of the reaction center in the presence of high energy radiation is known as photooxidation, right? So if the energy is too high and it directly falls on this reaction center, it can get photooxidized. Another term used for it is solarization, right? That is why all these molecules, they are surrounding the reaction center to protect it against the high energy radiations. So I hope the arrangement is clear to you why they are arranged like this. Now let us see what happens when sunlight falls on these antenna molecules. So you see, sunlight falls on this one, it gets excited and it releases energy in some parts. And that energy which is released in some parts, it moves to the next molecule, then it conducts energy to the next molecule, the next one, the next one, the next one, and they are arranged like this that this particle, it can absorb the maximum amount of energy, it breaks the energy and gives to the next one, it breaks it, gives to the next one, and it moves like this. And finally, when the energy is suitable for the reaction center, it is transmitted to the reaction center. So this is the brilliant organization of all these pigments and how they not only protect the reaction center, but they are capable of absorbing all the light energy. So it doesn't matter if it's red colored, orange colored, yellow colored, any colored wavelength comes on these pigments, they are capable of using all of it, because there are so many molecules of basically there are so many pigments and they can use all these different wavelengths, right? And that is why these accessory pigments are necessary. So we can mention here that these are the accessory pigments. Accessory pigments, and what are their significance? Let me quickly write here, because a direct question can be framed that what are the uses of accessory pigments, what is the significance? So first significance is it helps to capture wide range of light energy, capture wide range of light energy, right? Also, it protects reaction center. It protects reaction center from photooxidation. From photooxidation. Photooxidation, which is also known as solarization. Solarization. So I hope it is clear to you. And finally, we can add another point that they increase efficiency of photosynthesis or light capturing, we can say, right? In general, photosynthesis, right? These are all. Yes, a lot of students have this doubt that all the chlorophyll A molecules are reaction center. I get the doubt, Shikhar, but you can check, you can fact check this on Google or any high level book, that not all chlorophyll A pigments are reaction center. This is a big misconception that a lot of students, even a lot of teachers have. But I have fact checked it. Even when I was a student, I had this doubt, but this is actually not true. Some of the chlorophyll A molecules are also found in these accessory pigments as well. You can check it in a good book. You can trust me. I know this very well, right? So they increase efficiency of photosynthesis, right? So unfortunately, the time of the class is about to come to an end. But yes, this class was productive. I told you a lot of great things. And yes, we will continue with the discussion of photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. We actually got an idea of this energy transfer. Before going, let me tell you what this mechanism of this energy transfer actually called. So as you can see, this mechanism of energy transfer, oh, thank you for the trust. Trust is something which is not cheap, right? You cannot trust everyone these days. Even internet has a lot of wrong answers for the questions, right? I can be wrong, right? I'm not saying I'm not wrong. I cannot be wrong, but this is something that I have read about. So yes, I'm pretty confident about it, right? I never say that I'm 100% correct, but yes, this is something that I have read in the books. Okay, so I was telling you about this particular mechanism of energy transfer, right? So this mechanism of energy transfer, mechanism of energy transfer is known as, do you know what is known as? It is something interesting. It is known as, I forgot. No, I know. It is known as is known as resonance. Inductive resonance. Or is it known as? It was something related to resonance. Inductive resonance. Yes, it was inductive resonance. Inductive resonance. Was it? I need to check because I suddenly forgot the name. Let me check at the moment. Wait a second. I don't want to give you any wrong information. Was it inductive resonance? So at the moment I actually can't find the answer, right? So at the moment you should not write it. I'll find the answer to the question, right, and then I'll tell you, because writing anything which is wrong is not a good thing. Is it inductive resonance? Are you sure about it? Because I'm having doubts. What have I used? Alright, I'm trusting you, but I'm not quite sure. I think it is something related to resonance, but yes, only inductive resonance is coming to my mind. Alright, so I hope that it is all the things that I have taught today are well understood, and we will talk about all the remaining things in the next class whenever we have it. Alright, so yes, this is all for today. So let us quickly see what we have seen in today's class. So in today's class, first we talked about chloroplast, right? It is a semi-autonomous organelle and all these structures, and out of these two membranous structure, they participate in light reaction, and the stroma, it participates in the dark reaction. And light reaction and dark reaction, these are the two basically parts of the whole photosynthetic pathway, and this is the diagram that is representing it. And these are the high energy intermediates which will be formed in the light reaction, and they will be used in the dark reaction, right? Then we talked about all the pigments, and we talked a little bit about the chemistry. Okay, you just checked out very well, very well. Always check with a couple of sources, and then you can find the correct answer to the questions, right? And we talked about that these are the four parts of the light reaction, right? Then we talked about the photosystems, what are light harvesting complex, reaction centers, right? And we cleared it out that yes, all chlorophyll A molecules, they are not reaction centers, right? And we talked about the significance of accessory pigments. So yes, this is all that we have done today. Not much, not less. Yes, if you understand it, then it's very well, right? So yes, before going, let me tell you all the advantages that you can get on the plus subscription of Unacademy. First, if you do not want to get plus subscription, just try it. First check and then decide whether or not you want to get it. And how you can check? Go to the Unacademy app and see the special classes, how teachers are taking special classes, and see all the courses which the plus subscription is offering you, right? It might change your mind because plus subscription has a lot of advantages like this. First, you can learn at your home at your own ease. See, Omicron is on the rise, you cannot go out, and the temperature is so low that going out feels like a nightmare, right? So you can be comfortable in your home and can attend all the classes with all the top educators of the nation, right? You have unlimited access to any course. So it is not just like if you have used my code, it doesn't mean that you can only watch my course. You can watch any course on the whole platform, which is amazing. Top educators are teaching on the platform, as you already know. Regular doubt solving is conducted on the app, which is a great feature. No doubt should remain in your head. Exhaustive coverage of the syllabus. A single teacher is covering the syllabus at least twice or thrice. And now you can imagine we have like multiple teachers. So as a single chapter is being taught multiple times by different teachers. If one teacher is unable to explain something you can jump to another teacher. So this luxury of options is something that Unacademy is providing. Proper mentorship and guidance will be given to you. Proper study material will be given to you. All the notes that we write here, all the diagrams that I draw, they will be available to you in the form of PDF after some time of the lecture, right? Practice tests are conducted to keep you well prepared for the examination. Live test series are conducted, right, which is very interesting. And yes, you have batch features. Different batches have different features, right? So you can join plus course if you're interested, and you can use the code Sourav B Live to get a 10% discount, right? And it also gives me some reward if someone uses my code. Yes, so it is an advantage to both the teacher as well as the educator. Okay, and yes, let me give you an idea about this ICSE branch and the courses which are about to come, right? So the first course is for class 9th in Hindi, known as the Param course, in which we have great teachers teaching you subjects like maths, physics, chemistry and biology. We have the same course in English language as well, so no one is left behind. We have maths, physics, chemistry and biology taught by great educators, right? So your ISC examination preparation will be on the top, right? So we have class 10 courses as well in Hindi as well as in English class, right? Oh, you're welcome, and I hope that you will join the next classes as well, and you will check out my classes on the special course as well. If I tell you about myself, my name is Sourav and I have recently joined Unacademy. So yes, it will be a great morale boost basically if you want to join, right? So we have courses for class 10 in English as well and in Hindi, and then comes to class 11th, and here you can see maths, physics, chemistry and biology, which will be taught by me. And also for the class 12th we have champions crash course, which will be taught by all these teachers including me, right? So this is an overview of the courses which are going to get started from January 3rd and 4th. All right, so something I missed. Okay, these are the special classes. The features of special classes: you can use polls, you can compete with others to answer first, right? And all these great features, you can ask questions as well. So what you have to do is download the app, do all the formalities, right? Select the class, course and all that, and you are good to go, right? So today we talked about photosynthesis. We have already recapped, and consider using the code. Download the app and join the Telegram group. Subscribe to the channel. And yes, that's it for today, and I will see you in the next course. Bye bye.